All right, we're here with the newest bike from Tern, just released this year. It's called the Quick Haul Long, as in it's a little longer than the standard Quick Haul, which is right behind me. The Quick Haul was introduced as one of the lower price point bikes available from Tern. Still has the Bosch motor, hydraulic disc brakes, all the quality accessories and stuff like that you would expect from Tern, but now starting at a price point of $24.99. Two different versions on the Quick Haul, and then the Quick Haul Long, which is just recently introduced, really one of the least expensive Bosch-powered cargo bikes that can carry two kids. This one has rear rack weight capacity of about 200 pounds. The standard Quick Haul has a weight capacity of 110 pounds. Good for single passenger, kids, small adults, that sort of thing. And this one's really great to put two kid seats, adult, or just carry stuff. I'm kind of introducing this bike a little bit departure from how I'd normally outfit it with the Clubhouse rack and all that sort of thing, which those are great options. But just to note that this is just a good all-around bike. And many people might just choose it for that, a bike that is capable of doing a bit more, but a really just solid bike on its own. And one of the things that makes Tern bikes unique in particular are these smaller wheels, which keeps the center of gravity really low. It's something you'll generally find in these models. Really beneficial if you're carrying a lot of weight on the back. You don't really have that levering force as much as you do when the weight is up high above your center of gravity. Loads of different accessory options available. I think that that's a really important detail and something that a lot of times cargo bike companies don't really fully think out or deliver on. Captain's chair style rear seat. Clubhouse Plus, you can have this rail that goes around the whole bike. Really good for carrying small and medium-sized kids. You could also run that Clubhouse Plus with a child seat and a pad, or two child seats or two pads. Have these side skirts to kind of protect the feet. This one also happens to have these Stow decks on here. Really good for bigger kids. They won't put their feet down. Or also if you're carrying just a lot of cargo, you could really configure the bike however you want. You know, you have an ability to tow a bike on the back. You could set up front racks on here of all sorts of different sizes. This one also has what's called a cash box in here. Loads of different pannier bag options. You can run standard panniers, or Tern has a bunch of options. Just overall, a very capable bike. A bike that you can kind of live with and grow with and adapt to your daily needs or family's needs, which is quite often the case for these types of bikes. I'd like to talk a little bit more about how this Quick Haul Long fits into the family of Tern bikes, because there are quite a few of them. Tern initially introduced their folding electric bike, I think somewhere around 2015, 2016. They actually launched at the same time that Bosch launched in North America. They eventually introduced the GSD, which quickly became one of the most popular cargo electric bikes in the country, perhaps the world. Certainly it was one of the most popular bikes historically in our shop. Propel. Then they iterated that over time. They introduced new different creature comforts on it. Quick Haul Long kind of has some remnants of that bike to some extent. For example, one of the things, a rigid front fork. For example, now the GSD comes standard with the suspension front fork. They also introduced some other models in this lineup. One of the things is the HSD. So you could think of the HSD is the slightly upgraded version of the Quick Haul, including a suspension front fork on some models, a suspension seat post, the option to have a belt drive. The GSD is maybe a slightly upgraded deluxe version of the Quick Haul Long in some ways, having similar weight carrying capabilities, but having some additional comforts with suspension and belt drive. Has a lockable kickstand on the GSDs. They have a lot of these other details. They also have a model called the NBD. The NBD is one of their most accessible bikes. Has a low step frame. It's really accessible for shorter riders. But today we're going to focus on the Quick Haul Long, with a little mention here and there of the Quick Haul to give you some more context. But if you want to understand the broader family of bikes, we had a video that we recently did at Eurobike that went through the full family with Steve Boyd, the general manager of Tern North America. It's like, what's going on over here? So you may wonder, who's this bike best for? parents is probably what we see the most. Folks that are outfitting this with all the different kids accessories, especially if you specifically need to carry 2 kids, or maybe you don't know if in the future you might need to carry 2 kids. Maybe you just got one and you're planning for another. Good to have that flexibility. Or you want to carry 1 kid and you just need to carry a lot of extra cargo. Maybe you go to Costco or BJ's, you need to carry a little bit extra. So I think you might appreciate having that extra weight capacity. But if you need something a little bit simpler, you could opt for the standard quick haul, just a little less weight capacity, a little shorter rack. But I think overall, it's for somebody that just wants the utility of a cargo bike with the quality of a Bosch system and a Tern e-bike. Have it just at a bit of a lower price point. Because certainly there's some folks that are just gonna ride it on a daily basis and not carry kids. Comes with the Bosch motor system, cargo line, which is really one of their most powerful motors with 85 Newton meters of torque. Comes standard with a 400 watt-hour battery. Doesn't have the option to carry a second battery, but in theory, you could always carry one in a bag and swap it out and that sort of thing. But that's also something you might want to consider if you did want to have a bike with an option for 2 batteries, you could opt for the GSD. It's available in 2 frame colors. So this is called Traffic Signal Red. It's also available in black. Both the colors are kind of a satin finish. This seems to be a growing trend with a lot of companies. Now this has a rigid seat post. Still really heavy duty on everything. One of the details to note about Tern specifically is they're really big about their testing standards. And I think most respectable companies that are selling cargo bikes, or really bikes in general, they should really do everything they can to continue to test and make sure that they're able to hold up to the claims that they make. For example, they say they can carry upwards of 200 pounds on the rear rack. We say, okay, how did you test that? Did you just like throw a sandbag on there and you say like, hey, it kind of works? Or was there actually some really serious testing alongside the braking and the overall frame and fatigue over time? It's a lot more that goes into it. And then the Bosch system is tested to the UL 2849 standard, which is really the highest standard in the US for e-bike systems. And they've been doing it voluntarily for years, but then places like New York are starting to make it more of a requirement. And I think we're going to continue to start to see that in more and more cities. So you can appreciate a company like this that's taking those steps to make sure that they're ahead of the curve with those sort of things. Another detail about these cargo bikes, quite often they're one size fits all bike, but they're very adaptable to different rider heights. So you can fit this high 4 foot, low 5 foot range going upwards to 6.5 feet or so. You're able to adjust the handlebars up and down. You get quite a bit there. Now, even if you're a shorter rider, you might appreciate having the handlebars up a little bit higher. You don't have quite as much control when the bike is like that, but it can certainly give you some more comfort, especially if you want to sit a bit more upright. If you are sitting very upright, it could be a good idea to add a suspension seat post. I mean, the tires on this bike do add a good deal of suspension, but adding little comfort details like that could be helpful. Be something that you could upgrade later if you want to kind of save and budget for it and that sort of thing, which I know some people do sometimes. So the seat post is pretty adjustable going up and down here. I always like to point this out for folks because not everybody's always aware, but there's a minimum insertion point on these seat posts. I've seen some folks sometimes that they put the seat post higher than it should go. You could potentially damage the frame. It could be dangerous, so little tip to be aware of. And the rear rack on the bike is really heavy duty, can carry upwards of 200 pounds. It's also a replaceable rack, which is kind of nice. A little bit different than the GSD, which is actually built into the frame of the bike. They also have some mounting points. And as I mentioned earlier, there's loads of different accessories that you can add. Also can fit some different child seats. It has these little windows here. So if you wanted to put, say, the Yep Easy Fit, but if you wanted to also use the new neck system that clamps to the side, that's compatible as well. See the nice tail light here that you could turn on and off. Another really important detail to mention about pretty much all Tern bikes is the ability for them to stand up on the rear end. You can see these little feet, if you will. So this actually will allow you to stand the bike up. Really great for storage. I know some people like to store their bike in a closet, behind a door. It's really nice to have those space-saving features. And you can also see we have this special accessory called the Stow deck. It's currently in the stow position. We have this pin that you could pull out here. You can actually put this in all sorts of different positions, and depending on what position you put in, it gets wider and wider. Could be beneficial if you have a shorter child and they need something to stand on. It's up here and that's fine. But if you want to have it as wide as possible, fully opened, you can lock it down there. Maybe you have a bigger passenger, has longer legs, wants to put their foot there. But also really great for carrying cargo and that sort of thing. For the drivetrain on this bike, we have something a bit unique. So this is a derailleur system made by Tektro. Tektro also happens to make the brakes on this bike, along with the brakes on a lot of other bikes. This is a derailleur system specifically made for e-bikes. Really durable, 9-speed derailleur. Just my personal feeling riding it, it's really nice. I'm excited to see this featured on more bikes, perhaps see the expansion of more systems specifically designed for e-bikes. It's really quite cool. So coming up to the wheels of the bike, you see these are the Schwalbe pickup tires. These are specifically designed for cargo bikes, so they have a slightly more heavy-duty sidewall on them, but really puncture-proof. Really thick rubber in the center, really prevents any glass or whatever else that you might encounter in some urban environments from puncturing that tube inside. Rated for 30 to 65 PSI. They even tell you the max load capacity, which is 267 pounds. That's something that you generally don't find on tires. And I believe that that's per tire, so you kind of multiply the two of them, it's over 500 pounds, but then it gets to like what the frame is actually capable. But reflective sidewall here, heavy duty double wall rim. It is running standard quick release axles here with the rigid fork, some additional mounts here on the fork, and then you have fender set up front and rear, light move headlight, one I haven't seen before, but it seems to function pretty well. And then you also have a frame lock up front, which is convenient. So you just turn this here, the key, and you can lock it and remove the key. One important note is that you do need to lock it in order to remove the key, and this is the same key that you'll use for your battery. It does come with 2 keys. Generally, I recommend putting the other one in a safe spot. Just keep that in mind if you're going to lock it up. Another nice detail is you can actually run a chain on the other side of this lock, so it's a nice, simple way to lock things up quickly. I generally recommend if you're going to lock it up for extended periods in a less secure place, probably going to want to add some additional locks to the bike. So for the motor on the bike, it's the Bosch Generation 4 cargo line system. Really heavy duty, kind of hidden behind this chain ring. I think you could see the motor a little bit better from the other side, but while you're here, you could see some of this extra engineering that goes into having this long frame. They have this chain pulley here, which is something that Tern's been doing for some time, and they're really good at, these little details. The double kickstand that comes standard on the bike, really important for cargo bikes, and they have their own proprietary kickstand on this bike, which is very durable. So you can see the Bosch motor is well integrated into the aluminum frame of the bike, and it provides quite a bit of assistance. 85 Newton meters of torque using a technology called pedal assist. Basically assists you as you pedal. You pedal and the bike is basically reacting to that using 3 different sensors. One sensing how fast you're pedaling, another sensing how hard you're pedaling, and one other sensing how fast the bike is going overall. It's taking 1,000 senses per second, and based on this information, it's assisting you anywhere from around 50% assistance to upwards of 400% assistance at the max assist level. And this motor will assist you up to 20 miles an hour here in the US. In other markets, it should be 25 kilometers per hour. While we're over here, you can also see another add-on accessory that's installed called the cash box. It's lockable. Right now it's set to the default 000, but you can change the combination and you could unlock it just by pushing this down, and you can open it up. This is really great if you want to store a chain lock, wallet, you put your phone. You have dividers in here that you can work with. Really great system overall. And then also tucked right in the frame here is the battery. This bike comes standard with a 400 watt-hour battery. It is also compatible with the Bosch Powerpack 500. One of the nice things, if you have another Bosch powered bike that uses the 400 or 500 watt-hour power pack, you can swap them back and forth. One important note, if you ever did want to do that, you do want to make sure everything is updated to the latest software. There could be compatibility errors if they're not all on the latest software version. So coming up to the handlebars, you can see that we have this slight rise here with the slight sweep back, which gives you a little bit more of that like comfortable upright position. Mountain bike style stem with the riser post here to give you that real flexibility. This has the Bosch Purion display. Pretty simple display, but it's really durable and it works well. You can see the tripometer, you cycle through and you see the odometer. So the range will change as you change to the different assistance levels. So 26 miles. This is an eco level at 40% battery life left, but as you go up to the different assistance levels, that number will go down. I'd say on average, you probably should see about 25 or so miles on the top level of assist and upwards of 50, 60 miles on the low level of assistance. Now, if you're really loading the bike up and going up some real big hills, you might see that go down a little bit, but keep in mind, this is the 400 watt hour battery on here. You have the light on here. We could just turn on and off by holding the plus button down for a couple of seconds. You also have walk assist to activate. You tap the walk assist button here and then you hold the plus button and it will accelerate the bike. Really just go like a couple miles an hour, enough to assist you if you have the bike loaded, walking up a hill or walking through a crowded area or something like that. Just helps take the load off. You also have these ergonomic grips, which are nice. Kind of take the pressure off your hand, and they're lock on so you can adjust the angle. As you adjust the angle on here, you want this to really take the pressure off. Sometimes I find people put these like really low and they're not actually doing anything at that point. So you generally want to have them even facing up a little bit more. You could also see while we're up here, the shifter. And for the saddle on the bike, it's a Tern saddle made with Velo. So more of a collaboration between Tern and Velo. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have questions about this bike, if you want to learn more about it, you can check out the links below. You can also reach out to the staff at Propel. They'll be happy to help you find the right cargo bike for you. It's kind of their expertise. They really focus on matchmaking, we call it, as opposed to a more traditional sales process, and really try to help you find what the right bike is for you. So check it out. I think you'll really enjoy the experience, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. All right? Well, take care.